Greetings, everyone. I'm Del Hungerford with Healing Frequencies Music, and this video is about one of my new classes. Well, actually, it's not that new because I started the process in 2021 when someone came to me and said, I think you're supposed to teach me how to use crystal bowls for creating sound baths. So I worked together with this person for a while and then added a couple other people to it later. And so over the last 5 years, I've created an entire system for doing sound baths for people that's very different than what anyone else out there is doing. Now, if you're not sure what a sound bath is, it's people take crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, a variety of percussion instruments, gongs, all kinds of things to bathe you in sound. And you generally go to a place where they play all these instruments over you. And most of the time, it's a group experience. But then you're going to pay more if you want a private sound bath with people. And there are a lot of people who are doing it. And then you get the one-time experience. And I'm like, okay, in my mind, I'm a teacher. Okay. If you are going to engage with something, we have to find a way to do it where you can use it continually. And I'm thinking, how can I create these sound baths so that I can record them and send them to people and then give them some sort of an activation where they can listen as long as they want. They can say some things over themselves. They get to practice all of that stuff until their body says, okay, it's time for another sound bath. Enter the Frequency Immersion Practitioner Program. And without further ado, let's go to the slides so that you get to see what it is that I am doing. And unfortunately, I have to share screen first and get rid of this. Okay, so let's do the slide. So again, as the curtains pull back, this is my Frequency Immersion Practitioner Program that if you're interested in becoming a Frequency Immersion Practitioner, this is one way that you can do it. I'm going to move myself again up here, excuse me, to the corner. All right, next slide. There's the website, frequencyimmersion.com, but you can also get to that site from Healing Frequencies Music. It's under the training tab. So frequencyimmersion.com is just specifically about how to become a frequency immersion practitioner. What is it? A frequency immersion practitioner, I need to move myself further up. A frequency immersion practitioner uses crystal bowls as the main set of instruments, amid a myriad of other instruments, to create a healing and peaceful sound bath experience for clients. Practitioners learn a scientific method developed by me, I'm Del Hungerford, as a beginning step for their personal practitioner journey. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit to this slide. Most of you watching this know that I was a professional classical musician. I have a doctoral degree in music. I really understand music theory. I understand all the performance aspects of doing music. So I'm not one of those people who's not a musician who's learning to do a sound bath. I come at this from a compositional, from a performance, and from an intuitive perspective. I bring all three of those together so that when people give sound baths, they're doing it so that it sounds good. They're using musicianship as part of the process. Next slide. So there are 3 modules. And what to expect in these 3 modules, first of all, there's 3 modules plus an in-person training that follows. And it is possible to complete the entire program in 1 year, but in order to get that done, you're going to need to spend about 6 hours a week. If you want to take a little longer, you can do it 3 hours a week. Module 1 takes less time to do than Module 3, for example. And the course comes with email feedback directly from me. You send your homework, I comment on it, I say, okay, consider doing blah, blah, blah. You fix it or add some other things, and then we go from there. Module 1 is called Living Healthy and Happy. And I always tell people, you can't do for others what you can't do for yourself. So module 1 has 16 modules. I can't, it's hard to see because my little share bar is way up at the top. I don't think you're seeing that. And in module 1, it's all about self-care and taking care of the things within you, especially anything that can hold you back from success. Any trauma that's going on, because sometimes when we're around people, we get negatively triggered. And you don't want to be giving a sound bath and being triggered by someone else's junk or the junk that's on you. So this first module is a lot about dealing with yourself, but at the same time, you're learning the basics of how frequency affects the spirit, the soul, and the body, because we are a 3-part being. You also learn about the power of thoughts, intents, and actions. Then how entrainment and consciousness affect the spirit, soul, and the body. There's many layers to this. Then there is a website called Via Character Assessment. You can, if you just Google those 3 words, Via Character Assessment, you will find the quiz. And I give all that information. And that is another 4-class thing, because normally it's 12 lessons, but I put this entire course in here. Because you're going to learn about your strengths and your weaknesses and how to use that to create your specific passions related to you. And we do all of this through the power of your imagination as we explore and work with what we call our personal mountain. So just you visualize your life as it's a mountain, and there's all these gateways in your spirit, your soul, and your body, starting from the top with your spirit. And we get a visual of how things function from the top to the bottom. And all of that is in module 1, and it does continue on into module 2, which is mostly about practical application. There's also 12 lessons in that. In those lessons, the very first one, we talk about rewiring the brain. How do you rewire the brain? And then we bring back some of the stuff from module 1 when it comes to checking to make sure that, have you done the VIA assessment yet? Have you completed some of the reading? Because if we can't get through some of that stuff and we still got a whole bunch of trauma in our lives, it's really going to be difficult to work as a frequency immersion practitioner. Module 1, anybody can take it. The one thing module 1 will do for everybody is it allows you to work through your stuff. And we all have it. I'm the first one to raise my hand saying I have stuff I still work on, even though I'm so different now than I was, even 5 years ago. Once we get through the healing power, the rewiring the brain, then we look at the healing powers of music in general. Then we look at a healing music recipe. You think you go to a doctor, he gives you a prescription, you take the prescription, you do the things that he says. And we look at what that healing music recipe looks like as a frequency immersion practitioner. Then there's a lot about music theory, scale, not necessarily, well, somewhat scales, intervals, the properties of specific musical notes, how it all relates to the musical frequencies of the Hebrew letters. And we continue to work on module 1. The difference in this module is you get 2 private Zoom sessions with me that can come anytime during this course. So you continue to get the email feedback on all the lessons, and we go back and forth. That's module 2. So you're preparing, getting some music theory under your belt, doing, just learning more about frequency stuff. Then you fill out an application to be accepted into module 3. Module 3 is called Develop Your Own Style. This is where you get into the nitty-gritty of the actual course. And it also has 12 lessons. And this is the one that has the most amount of work, because you are taking my research and you are using that to find your own path in that. Some of the lessons in module 3 include, you're going to learn how to process sound baths. That includes the paperwork, the affirmations. Some people call affirmations declarations because this is like your prescription. When you go to the doctor and you've got a cold or whatever, they're going to give you some sort of medicine. Take this for 10 days, blah, 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 blah. Sound bath is no different. In the method that I'm doing here, you come up with some affirmations or declarations that you send with people to say along while they're listening. You're going to learn a lot of recording basics, simple stuff if you don't know anything about recording, because I started this knowing nothing about recording. So I have a bunch of tools to give you that way. You're going to design your own sound bath business using my scientific research. You're going to create affirmations and practice procedures for your customers. The goal behind this method, you don't want to send them away without having something to practice. We don't get healed by listening to one sound bath. It's going to involve changing our mindsets, and you're going to help your customers do that by providing affirmations. And I'll give you all of my materials, and you can use some of it and you can tweak it for your own, which is why it's called Develop Your Own Style. I'm basically going to teach you how to do your own business. You take what I have and develop your own style. The in-person training. All of the homework has to be completed for each of the modules. Once that's all done, you've got all your paperwork done, then you come to North Idaho for 5 days. And I specifically say North Idaho because I'm only 30 minutes from the Canadian border. So I'm way up there. And we don't do it in the winter months because the roads around here can be fascinating. Right now it's like 15 degrees outside and the roads are a wee bit frosty. You give 10 online and in-person sound baths. People will order them online. They go choose their bowls based on what feels good to them. You create the sound bath using all of the stuff that we've come up with in Module 3. And you process it and you send it to the recipient. If someone's coming in person, this is where you learn some business strategy. You have a specific amount of time from start to finish, and you learn the most effective ways to get it to work so that there's less time for you. You're not spending 2 hours dealing with one sound bath and getting everything out there. You learn simple ways of making this work. But at the same time, I'm going to teach you how to musically perform or play those instruments. Concert pianists always say there's at least 80 different ways to approach touching one key on the piano. You've got staccato, legato, accented, so many different ways. If you're playing Mozart, you're not going to play the keyboard the same way as you are Rachmaninoff. The way that those two composers write their stuff is very different. There's many different ways to play and get sounds out of a crystal bowl and the different percussion instruments. I'm going to teach you all that stuff. If you are a musician and know some of it, I can help you get better because I was a college music professor. So I have just a wee bit experience in that department. Then you're going to do another 10 sound baths by yourself if you want to be certified. And there's going to be below this video, there's going to be a link to the Frequency Immersion sound bath. And in addition, on this YouTube channel, I have, I think, 7 or 8 sound baths that I did in previous training sessions that you can listen to. So when people come to train, we do sound baths for real clients. And every one of these sound baths that's, on the YouTube channel was done for a real client. We just didn't create it for nothing. They were specifically for individual clients. That way you get a flavor of what they might sound like. And you're going to notice that some of them are very different because there's different people doing it. And generally we'll do it together when you come for training, unless there's another trainee that comes in and the two of you will do it together. What this does is it teaches you how to hear, because you're responding to another person in the room. You know what the intention is because you have the person's paperwork of what they're asking for. Then you work together in coming up with the affirmations and all the things to send to them with the recording. So on that note, I think that, is there one more slide? Nope, there's not. So I'm going to stop sharing. Know that below here, I put 3 links. I'm going to put a link to the shop page on the website because there are several classes. And I'm going to start doing introductions to each of the classes and teachings, because there are some that are just plain teachings and there are some that are classes. To give you just a little bit of introduction into what they are, then there's going to be one for the Frequency Immersion website, and then I'm going to put a link to the playlist that has all the sound baths. If you have questions about the Frequency Immersion Practitioner Program, there's an email, a form to fill out at the bottom of the website where you can ask all the questions. And the prices are subject to change, so that's why I'm not going to say them here, but they are on the website. So I hope to see some of you in the Frequency Immersion Practitioner Program. Do you remember that you can take Module 1 without having to be in the program? You can just take it, because what it does is it helps you work through the trauma and all the interesting stuff that we all go through in life, so that whatever it is that we end up doing, we're going to be able to move forward. And that is the main key of Module 1. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.